Okay, so for this practice, you really don't need anything in particular, but for your comfort, you're welcome to have whatever tools you feel would add some support to your practice or some comfort. We're going to practice a little circuit today. So we're going to do 4 different movements. Some of them have additional layers in them, so it's not just one movement. It's like a shoulder thing and a hip thing. And then we're just going to repeat those back to back and make a little circuit for today. So this is not really a yoga class. Obviously, this is a mobility class slash kind of working into the fitness realms, but it's going to be low to the ground, really no cardio to speak of. So let's begin lying on our right side. And I'm going to use my bottom arm to put my head on, but you could also use a blanket or a block. And then let's set the knees, I don't know, somewhere ahead of the hips, just so you feel like your body is arranged in a position that feels natural and not contorted. Notice if you have a little gap where your low back is on the side here. So if your hips are quite a lot wider than your waistline, you might feel like your waistline is sinking into the floor. And then you might get a little bit more of a curve here on this top side waist. Let's try to draw the right side waist away from the floor a little bit so that you can sense that your spine is not curving too much and that it's more vertical. And then we're going to start with shoulders. With your left arm, flip your palm open and just float your arm off of the ground a little bit, or off of your side rather. So you're rotating that arm bone into external rotation, bicep towards the sky, palm facing the sky. Sweep it out in front of you, as if you're trying to reach towards me. And then start to take your arm over your head. Your palm is still trying to face the opposite direction from you. Once you max that out, reach your arm behind you and turn it inward. Shoulder extension. And then we're going to go back the way we came in, external rotation as you reach your arm overhead. And then take your arm back out in front of you and hover it just above your hip. Continue to move in that way. So you're externally rotating as you reach forward and upward. Once you max out that range, spiral your arm bone internally and take it behind you. This feels a little bit like you are reaching back in the back seat of your car, or if you've ever ran track, it's that baton pass. And then let's reach back overhead, external rotation, all the way down by the hip. 2 more. You can go just a little bit more at pace. We really slowed those first few down, which is good. Now you're not after the biggest circle you can make here. You're really focused towards rotating just through the shoulder without letting the chest open up. So if I were to try to make my shoulder circle bigger, what could happen is I might roll open and then my spine would be twisting. We're going to try to stay away from that. Last one. And then just set your left arm out in front of you so you can use it as a little bit of stability. We're going to do the same type of movement with the hip. Top leg hip is going to float just away from the bottom leg. Press down with your bottom leg. Squeeze behind your knee. Keep your knee closed through the whole movement. Pull your leg up towards your chest and then open it. Without opening your pelvis, turn your leg inward as you go behind. And then swoop back forward, thinking of touching your knee towards your elbow. Now let's go back the other way into reverse. Squeeze the back of your knee, reach your leg back. Externally rotate it. You're opening the leg now as you pull it in towards you. Reverse again. pull in, open, internal spiral, kick back, and then one last time we go back first, external rotation, and pull it in and set it down. It's that easy. We're going to flip onto the other side, and we're going to do the right arm laying on the left side. I'm actually going to show you the rear view this time. In case you're wondering about any of the positioning, this might give you a different perspective. So right arm is going to rotate externally, palm to the sky, and then reach it out in front of you, and then over your head, still trying to turn the palm away from you. Once you can't go any further, internally rotate and reach back. Reverse out, spiral your arm as you take it over your head, forward, and then back down by the hip. Neutral position. Let's do it again. Reach up and over. Turn it in as you go back. And then reach up and back. Rotate it the other direction. And reset by your hip. 2 more times. Just as much focus, but maybe not quite as slow now. And the next time you bring your right arm out in front of you, set it down and use it for a little bit of a brace and a kickstand. Squeeze behind your right knee and hover that right leg away from the left as you press your left leg down. Draw it towards your body, upward, flexion, and then open to abduction. Try not to let your pelvis tip open though. Internal rotation, spiral, and then take it back behind you. Nice strong kick from the seat. Pull it back in towards your body. Reverse backwards first. Angle the knee up and the heel down, and then pull it back in towards your body. Reverse, flexion, abduction, internal rotation, extension. And then we externally rotate, pull it wide, and tap it in. Beautiful. Next movement, 3 of 4. We're going to come on the back, bend your knees, and bridge up nice and slow. This will be our slow spine articulation. We're going one segment at a time, starting with the tailbone, then the sacrum, then the lumbar T-spine, point, that little juncture there. And then let the rest of your ribs raise until you feel like you're in a good bridge position for you today. And connect to the power here in the back of the hamstrings, the glutes, really feeling your feet connect in the 3 corners or the tripod, and then slowly lower down. And then the 4th movement is going to be a set of the struggling bug reaches. So we're going to start in reverse tabletop. Thigh bones vertical, arms vertical, knees bent at about 90 degrees. Contralateral movement with the arms and the legs. So as you reach your right arm overhead, your left heel is going to tap towards the ground. Keep your spine neutral. And then come back to that reverse table. And then we go left arm, right leg. We just have 2 more on each side. Reach and tap, really stabilizing through the trunk, trying not to let that low back curl off, and keeping the back side of your rib cage super heavy. Last round in this first set. And then you're going to roll back to your right side. Support your head. Left side, left arm, left shoulder rotations. Forward, external rotation, high-fiving the wall behind you as you go overhead. Now turn your arm bone inward, medial rotation. Reach back into shoulder extension. Take it back the way you went in, starting to reach overhead as you turn your arm back to that external rotation, forward and by your side. We're just going to do 2 more in this set. Be really mindful that you're not rotating your upper trunk open. So this is not a spine twist. This is a simple shoulder circle. Communicating directly to your glenohumeral joint, the ball and socket. Last one. Now your left arm's going to be part of your bracing system. Hip cars. You can go whichever direction you want to. First off, so that doesn't matter so much, but you are going to do 1 in one direction and then reverse to the other. And we'll do a total of about 3. Actually 3 in each direction, so 6. Nice and slow, really communicating to that ball and socket joint of your hip, really speaking to hamstrings, hip flexors, adductors, abductors. This is my last one. And then we're going to go rolling over to left side. Controlled articular rotation, right shoulder. Up and over, in and backwards. Outwards and upwards. And then back to that reset of neutral. 2 more times. Bigger isn't necessarily better. We want this to be a pure shoulder rotation, minimizing any other compensations of other body parts, especially the ribs and your spine. Last one. And then support yourself, press down with your bottom leg and use the top arm for a kickstand. And then you've got 3 hip cars in each direction. You could go every other like we've been doing, or you could mix it up and do 3 in one direction, followed by 3 in the other. I'll leave that up to you to decide. Just try to keep it pure in the hip capsule rather than the pelvis. I'm down to my last 2. When you finish with that, you're going to head towards your bridge preparation stance. Find neutral, and then tuck the pelvis and roll up segmentally. And roll down segmentally. Next up is the struggling bug reaches. So on the first round, we kept our knee bent you could continue with that, but you could also work on straightening the leg. Now, if that brings your spine into extension, then you're going to skip that and just move at the hip instead and keep your knee angle the same. So it's more of a regression. Straight leg is more of a progression. Move at your own pace. Try to do a total of 3 pairs or 6. I'm actually going to go for 8. So if you get done before I get done, you can move on to our 3rd repetition circuit, which should be laying on the right side with the left arm shoulder cars. Okay, I'm done with those. We're going to try for 2 more sets, y'all. Left arm rotations as you are ready. There's no rush. Notice the quality of the movement. If you're feeling any bit more, if you're feeling any more kind of in touch with things. Is the range of motion starting to grow just a little bit? And remember, we're not too concerned about that. It's more about a clean movement than it is a big one. So for me, after several repetitions, it just feels smoother, like a well-oiled machine. Whereas at the beginning, sometimes I can get some clunkiness going on. Last one here, finish it up. And then move through your hips. Left hip circling, right leg pressing down. On this one, I'm going to go 3 and 3 instead of every other. Okay, when you finished up with your hips on the left side, roll onto your left side and let's do shoulders and hips. Snap, crack, pop. One. For the hip, 3. Last revolution, own time, and then you're going to find your glute bridge. You're moving your spine like a wave rather than a hinge. So it's coming up piece by piece. Maybe even slower than last time. After your bridge, let's move through our reverse tabletop reaches. moving just from the hip or also extending the knee if you like. Let's try for 8 to 10 of these. And it really doesn't matter if you do all on one side first or every other. Either way, it's a really good practice to communicate with your core stabilizers. And it's just a little bit of a brain teaser since we're going right, left, and left, right. Try to breathe into your back ribs. And I always like to think about widening the back of my ribs from side to side. Kind of flattening out there. I'm on my last couple here. Okay, we're on the last set of the circuit. Right side laying, left shoulder rotating. I'm going to do one more full rotation, up and around, and then back to start. 6 really good hip cars. Which is actually 3 each way, more or less. If you do more, that's cool. And if you only get through a couple, that's fine too, because if you're moving really slow, then you won't be doing as many. When you've had enough of the left side hips, you're going to roll onto the left side and move the right. Shoulder first, hip second. Do the best that you can to isolate the joint by putting all of your attention there, all of your effort there, and minimizing any other shuffling, rotating, or moving around in the neck, ribs, spine, or pelvis. I'm going to do just one more with my shoulder. Last time with this right hip. Let's make him good and clean and focused. Remember, having the left leg actively pressing to the floor offers you more stability. And same with that top arm. You can really brace with that and connect to your right lats as you kind of push into the ground. And the other shoulder muscles and the chest muscles. I'm going to do one more in each direction. Starting to feel a little fatigue, which is nice. Okay, last bridge, my friends. Let's do it. Even more patient. Maybe you actually pause after each little shift, each little progression. We stay just a moment. Kind of thinking of The analogy of the chain on a bicycle, each little cog moving independently, and thinking of this as a way to kind of grease the gears of your spine. When you have better joints and control of each joint, then the whole structure is more evenly loaded no matter what movement we're doing. So instead of one or two spots taking the brunt of the force, we have a better weight distribution. Coming down with control, tucking and rolling through that low back and pelvis. And then we are going to our reverse tabletop reaches, or the struggling bug. Let's try for 10, which would basically be 5 on each side. This time I'm going to do 5 and 5. I've been alternating up till now. How far each one of your limbs goes is completely up to you. It might just be a few inches. You're just trying to maintain that trunk stability. I've got one more on this side. This is my tricky side. All right. So once you finish those up, let's take a little rock and roll to sit. And then just have a quick sit. You can sit how you want to or kneel. If you have your yoga blocks, you could slide one of those underneath your bottom. Let your shoulders just fall easily away from your head. Natural situation as far as the trunk and neck. No need to force your posture here. Just let yourself be. Calming and cooling breaths in and out through your nose. That is your practice today. I hope you have an amazing week, and thanks for being here. Let me know what you thought of this. If you didn't make it to the live class, I'm happy to take your feedback. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. If you're in Zoom, we can chat if you want.